as well. Without further ado, my next guest. We were talking a little bit earlier in the lobby, and this is awesome. I wish we could talk for the next 3 hours about this stuff because it's so cool. But Barbara Ohl, she's the founder and lead investigator of Paranormal Investigations of Rockland County, busting some ghosts all over this town of ours. Welcome, Barbara. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate you coming in. Now, Paranormal Investigations of Rockland County. Obviously, Halloween's around the corner. We've got a theme of scaring going on. That's not really what you're into, but there are things that it's really the unexplained. And there are things that if we walk around maybe a building or maybe your house, there's things going on that maybe you can help us explain. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment.
How did you get into that?
Well, I've actually been interested in this sort of stuff since I had an experience when I was 11, when my grandmother passed away. So it's always kind of been in the forefront. But I actually started the group after my mom passed away because I sort of wanted more. I wanted answers because things started to happen in my house that we never had happened before, and I was wondering if perhaps my family was starting to visit me. So that's really when I formed the group to try to find out, is this stuff really true? Is what you see on TV really accurate?
And you mentioned we see a lot of things coming out of Hollywood. I remember when I was talking to Carrie, one of the first things that I thought of when we were going to be talking to you about this on the show, the first things that came to mind was the movie Ghostbusters, the movie Beetlejuice, and then the movie Poltergeist. Now, okay, two of them are comedies. One of them, back in the day, scared the pants off of me, and of course, Beetlejuice, of course, that was the one that scared the pants off.
Yep, of course.
No, Poltergeist scares me to this day. I can't watch the TV, and if I see static, I'm thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen now? Someone's going to suck me into the TV, and I'll be stuck there forever. Don't change the channel because, then you'll never get me again. How do you cope with, or how do you deal with the perception that Hollywood puts out there, and then describe for me what you really do to compete with that and figure out what you are doing? Explain to people what you do.
Well, people call us, they will have an idea, and it's taken from most of the either movies. Conjuring just came out. That was a big thing. I got a lot of phone calls. Everybody had a demon. But what we do is when we get a phone call, I treat every phone call as if it's accurate and real, and people always start off by saying, this sounds crazy, and it does. And I listen to what they say, and if I think there's some merit, first of all, I try to calm them down. I make them understand that 98% of the time, there's nothing to be afraid of.
When people are calling you, it sounds like you have a healthy dose of a little skepticism in there. When
yeah,
people
I do.
Call
I'm
you.
Analytical.
Okay, good. That makes sense. But when people are literally contacting you and they're
scared.
They're scared of something that's happening. All right, explain what are the kind of things that are happening that what are they describing to you?
They will call and they will tell me that they've that something in the house has scratched them or bit them, or they might have seen something, or something was holding them down, or they heard noises, or doors are opening and closing. It really varies, and you have to put aside your skepticism when you're taking a call, because most of the calls, believe it or not, come after 10 p.m. at night, and people are afraid. I mean, I get them 3:30 in the morning, and I happen to be a late person, so usually I'm up, believe it or not, and I'll take the call, and you just try to calm people down.
Are they expecting you to answer the phone at 3 in the morning, or are they surprised you're answering the phone?
They get annoyed, actually, when there's no one there. I've gotten phone calls where people have been upset with me.
I have to ask, how do you answer the phone at 3 in the morning?
I just answer the phone, hello, Barbara.
Okay,
that's what I say. I don't really. Yes, no, I don't do that.
No, okay,
that would definitely freak them out.
Yeah.
I don't even answer at Paranormal Investigations because I just want to hear. I get a lot of calls, and I try not to put things in people's head, and I listen to them. And the most thing I do is calm them down. I try to make them understand fear. If you really have something paranormal in your house, fear is a very powerful emotion, and what we've discovered is that entities or occurrences feed on power, whether it's electrical power, manpower, artificial power like radio station airwaves. Believe it or not, it generates a lot of EMF. And once people call us, when we get past that, I take their information, and then my team goes and they do an investigation. They go out and they do a land research to try to find out where they are, what they are, on the people a little bit as well. We go into Ancestry. We try to find out a little about the house, a little bit about the people.
So you're not walking to a house and sliming little green goblins.
No,
you're not doing something like that.
We don't.
You've got equipment that's sensing power or electrical
Right.
magnetic fields and
Because
things
then we
like
set
that.
up a preliminary, and what we do is two of us go in and we take readings with a lot of scientific equipment, EMF detectors. We'll bring. A thermal camera sometimes, and we'll go through the house and we'll take readings. We usually run a recorder also while we talk around, and we take the assumption, or we make the assumption there is something there, and we'll sort of put out in space that, look, if there is something here, we're not here to chase you away or hurt you. The owner has called us in. We just want to help you and want to learn about you. We really don't generally ask anything to leave. Most times people can just coexist. What people don't want is they don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be afraid. They don't want something.
When you say when you don't ask anything to leave,
Right.
You're referring to things you find in the house and saying, okay, guys and gals, you can hang out here as long as you behave. Is that what you're referring
Well,
to?
when we go in for the investigation, that's our premise. Our premise is we want to know why they're showing themselves. We want to know why they're coming forward. If there's children involved, it's a very different approach, because we'll assign some of our members that have children with them if they're there, if the parents want them there, and they sort of guide them a little bit, because this way it's easier. And if it's a kid, if it's a boy, we'll give one of our male members so he can kind of bond and not feel stupid. We don't want people to feel stupid because they're afraid, but we let them know that they can control their environment. They can ask things to leave them alone. I mean, when people see things, and children especially will see things because they don't have that cynicism that we have.
I have to tell you, one of the things that I'm a late bird myself, and I was up late last night. One of the movies, as I'm flipping through the channels, and one of the movies I fell asleep to, thank goodness, last night was The Sixth Sense.
Yeah, scary movie.
You're right, and I joined the middle of the movie just as Haley Joel Osment was telling Bruce Willis that he sees dead people, and he's 9 years old in the movie or something like that, and it's viscerally frightening. That particular scene, they acted it very well, but is that the reality of what you're dealing with? You have people who see dead people?
We have people who do see apparitions and things that are there. A lot of times they're actually loved ones that we find out, because we'll get what's called an EVP, which is an electronic voice phenomena, which means that we can put a recorder down right now and you and I are talking, and we'll just get you and I talking. But for some reason, when we're in a home and we put it down and we're doing our investigation, we'll get another voice on there that will say things or tell us things that have nothing to do with who's there. We, as a rule, run our recorders from the moment we walk into a place till we leave, because we get a lot of EVPs that way. A lot of places you'll see will just create a situation, they'll ask questions and then shut it off. I think that is asking something, whatever's there. We can't explain what it is, but you're asking whatever's there to perform for you. And we don't ask anybody to perform. We wouldn't ask a human to perform, and we wouldn't certainly ask something else.
So where do you stand on a guy like John Edwards, who communicates with the deceased and elicits stories from somebody and builds off a story that they tell to say, oh yes, I'm communicating with your Uncle John and he says don't worry about the money, or whatever, something like that?
My problem is I don't have any special talents, okay? I don't. I'm an analyst. That's what I was in a former life. I was very analytical, or scientific background.
And very self-deprecating at this point, right, sure.
I don't really, I can't tell John Edwards he's not seeing that, just like I can't tell Teresa Caputo.
Yes, we can.
No, you know what?
Come
I really
on.
can't, because I don't know. We have people
Okay.
on my team that say they feel things or they hear things. Honestly, we have to just sort of accept it. And that's what I tell the members of my team that are not feeling things, that are more skeptical like myself. I just say, you don't have to believe them, but you have to let them believe it if they want to, as long as it doesn't rule the investigation. And until somebody actually, one way or another, can disprove it, I can't say. I know I saw my grandmother when I was 11, okay? And I know she spoke to me. My mother thought I was crazy. My mother, if she was alive, would tell you the same thing right now. But I know what I saw, and I know what she said to me. And so from 11 years old, I believe I saw my grandmother, and I believe my grandmother is with me all the time. I carry her rosaries when we go out on investigations, and I ask her to take them out on the other side if they're going to hurt me,
And that's one of your phrases. I was reading this on your website the other night. You have a phrase
Right.
that your catchphrase.
Right.
Tell
It's
me
called
that.
believing is one thing, knowing is another.
Right. Explain to me what that before. And by the way, if you have any questions or if you've got concerns about your house or your place of business, you've heard scary noises. If you want to call us up right now, 362-0013. Barbara's here right up until 1 o'clock, and you can check out her website too, which is pirc-ny.com. That's pirc-New York. ny.com. Call us up at 362-0013 if you have any questions, but explain to me what that mantra means,
Well, we all have belief systems. Some people believe in the afterlife. Some people believe in, being able to be to see people or to hear people, and it's okay to say that you believe that. For me, because I am analytical in nature, I would like more hardcore proof. Okay, and the funny thing is, every time we get something, a week later, we're all running through it again, saying maybe it was this, maybe it was that, maybe we should go back. Especially if it's someplace that we have access to more often, like with someplace you rent, like we went to Eastern State and we just did Miss Fanny's. So those places we have access to sort of at will. A person's home, you have to kind of take a different approach. But we sort of go in always disbelieving whatever we find, and we look for any possibility that it could be any normal reaction. What we wind up with, if we come back and we say, look, this voice is none of us. We have cameras. We can see where we all were. Or nobody opened this door. Nobody turned this light on. We sort of have to then say, well, okay, I guess it's something. Whether you believe that or not is up to you. But I know how we approach it, and I know when we get something that we feel is evidence, we've gone through the distance to try to disprove that it could be anything normal.
And I should point out, as it says on your website, you do this for free. This is not free. You're not charging people. No. So it's not like you're walking into a house and convincing, Mildred or Jimmy that he's got ghosts and you got to do this and you got to do that, and selling them $20,000 worth of stuff to make them clean the house.
Yep. This is a community service, and everything we do, and if we have to get another group involved for some reason, whatever reason that is, we always make sure it's a group that's for free also. We don't believe in charging because it's very easy to scam somebody when they're afraid. I mean, and I tell you have ghosts, and you think you have ghosts, and fine, give me lots of money and I'll come in and I'll get rid of your ghost. That's not what we do. We really do this as a community service, and we have nothing to gain. That's the point. We have nothing to gain. People sign releases after we're done with everything. We've handed them the report and we've gone over everything and they're comfortable. And on that release, they can actually say, please don't use anything. And we have ones. You'll see there's places on there that says the owner asked us not to put this up. No one has to let us use anything. That's not what we're there. We're there for them. Not for us.
But now you haven't experienced something like, for example, there's a scene from the movie Ghost where Sam, dearly departed Sam, floats a penny up the door. He's able to move it with his finger, and Demi Moore doesn't see him, but the penny moves up across the door. He moves it up toward her face, and it settles into her hand. Very famous scene from the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze. Now, you haven't seen something like that.
No.
See, that's the kind of thing that we're all, I think, yearning for. We're all looking for that thing that we can prove to ourselves that this exists. I mean, and I saw a couple of the videos and some of the photos on your website. How do you, what are some of the things that you've been able to walk away from? Have you been able to walk away from an event or a house you went to and said, there's something there?
We do walk away from places and say that based on personal experiences or based on the fact that, after we come home, most times you don't even know things are going on while you're there. A lot of times we'll walk away from a place and you think you have nothing. And then you get home and you start pouring through hours. And
you turn your back and all of a sudden the lights are dancing and you didn't see it.
That would be lovely. If we would have that would be wonderful. I mean, that's the Holy Grail. When you catch things on video, it's Holy Grail. We have a few things we've caught that we can't explain. We really can't. And just recently we had a situation like that. But I mean, you don't know at the time that you're getting things until you get home, and then you start listening to things and you see it or you review it. It takes us weeks sometimes to go through evidence. Like a place like Eastern State, we ran maybe. Explain
that a little bit. Explain what Eastern State is and what you did there.
Eastern State is the penitentiary down in Philly. Mm-hmm. We rented it a couple of months ago.
It's an abandoned facility,
it's an
right?
abandoned. They run it during the day. It's a museum. They've done a very good job at it. But you can pay to rent it to be in there by yourselves, and we did. We brought a group in.
Yeah, good luck getting me to do that.
It was interesting, when the lights go out and you're in
I'm going to be scared enough of Neil at the Provident Bank Park Halloween thing.
When you close the lights off in an empty prison, it can play havoc with you.
I didn't even want to go in. What's the place in San Francisco? Alcatraz.
Oh, Alcatraz.
They give you the opportunity to go into a jail cell. No way. What if it gets stuck? I'm not staying here for the rest of my life.
I mean, it's very interesting things that have happened there, and like I said, we don't always know at the time that we're getting something. interesting, but later on we find out we have some pieces of equipment that allow us to do this interaction. It'll scan frequencies, and they can utilize the frequencies, the white noise. That's where that is in Poltergeist, that snow. It's based on using white noise. And
TV don't even do that anymore.
No, they don't. You find an empty channel that does that.
Right.
But, the thing is when you go into a place like that, you're kind of you're going behind hundreds of people that have been there before you. They run a Halloween thing. I mean, you have to sort of go in tongue-in-cheek and just say, look, we don't know what's going to happen. The first time we went there, we didn't really get a lot. This last time we got actually quite a bit of interaction and EVP. So it was an interesting thing. But, that we do on the off-season when we don't get a lot of calls during the summer. Summer's slow for some reason.
When do you get the most calls? Is it this time of year?
Yeah. We get a lot of calls right around, not so much October, November, and then a lot of times, some in December. For some reason, it's Christmas, I guess the ghosts go away. I don't really know. We don't get a lot at Christmas.
They're happier.
But January, February, I think it's more about the people. I think they're more involved with family and stuff, and they're not really paying attention to subtle things. And then when they're home, like around February and March, when it's really cold and they're in the house, I think they pay a lot more attention to what's going on. So I can't really explain why the pattern is. We get a few calls during the summer, but not a lot. Mostly we get a lot of phony phone calls in the summer.
Do you get obvious pranks, like people trying to trip you up and say, how when you screen them, how long does it take you to say, all right, this guy's just playing with me?
Well, I wish I could tell you that I knew right away. Sometimes I could be into a conversation, be taking notes about 5 or 10 minutes, and then there'll be. I try to keep asking questions to see if I get the same answers. And some
You're like a detective at this point.
Yeah, some people are very believable. But every once in a while, I could be 10 minutes into a conversation, and then you start to feel stupid. It's like, oh, geez, here we go. But, you have to just say, thank you very much, and I'll just do that. But sometimes people have called me back 2 and 3 times, and I didn't catch it the first 2 times. But as I start to, I put names with numbers, like, oh, this is so-and-so, John, Jerry, he'll give me the different names.
Right.
And you just have to do it. But some people are very annoyed. I've had people curse me out, leave me phone messages, and tell me that because I'm not answering my phone, something killed their cat. I mean, it was a very amusing phone call, and we play it usually when we have our barbecue because it's one of my top phone calls with someone just was being annoyed.
Countdown of crank phone calls.
Yeah, I actually called her back just to see if she was okay. She didn't answer, so I don't know if maybe something squished her too. I'm not sure.
We call 362 on that note, 362-0013. If you have any questions, right up until 1 o'clock, we've got about 7 minutes left in the show. It's Barbara Ohl. She's the founder and lead investigator of Paranormal Investigations of Rockland County. PIRC-NY.com is the website. Check it out. One of the things I was also looking at your website about and wanted to talk to you about, since we are around Halloween time, is there's lots of local legends of things happening. There's Indian Rock at Montebello, for example. Tell us a little bit about some of those things and what some of the other things that may be going around the county that legend has it are kind of the mystery spots, that you can look at or then say, hey, you know what, maybe something's going on here.
Well, Spook Rock is one of the big legends in Rockland, and there's actually several rocks located. There's one obviously in the Pace Center Plaza there. Not Pace Center.
No, the Indian. It's called Indian Rock, right? Yeah.
There's one right there. It's a very big rock. But
that's the one that they wanted. They left where it was, and they built the whole thing around it because they couldn't move it.
But there's actually a few more if you go down Airmont Road and stuff, and right off Spook Rock Road. But the legend is that originally there was, I guess, a couple that had interests in each other, and the Indian chief, when he found that out, that he murdered the boy, and she sacrificed herself. The legend is actually, we do have a section on our website for lore and legend. We encourage people, if they have stuff they want to submit, they can. That's a good place. People go there a lot. They see a lot of things. There's legends of like a Bigfoot type thing in the area called Old Big Red Eye, which is an interesting one too.
That I'd never heard. I saw that on your website. That I'd never heard. Explain that a little bit.
It's sort of just based on all the Bigfoot legends. I know people think things are in Kakiak Park. Listen, if you go any place at night, in the dark, you're bound to find something. I don't knock people that believe in Bigfoot because I don't know. I mean, I try to keep an open mind. I myself would not be running around the park at night, but I have actually gone.
Right, that's lesson number one. Don't run around the park at night.
But I have gone out with my niece and nephew,
Regardless of whether Bigfoot's there or not.
because their children believe it, and I have gone out with them with the FLIR looking for Bigfoot. So I will tell you that I have humored my great nephews, but I personally just don't know. I don't know if there's something out in Colorado that could be, but I don't think there's really a Bigfoot around here. But listen, I don't know. That's
See,
not
it
my
seems
expertise.
like lots of towns, whether in Rockland County or not, have their little legend kind of thing. I remember back. Oh, this probably goes back about 25 years. I had a friend from college who claimed that and I don't even remember where it was. It was somewhere in northern Bergen County, where if you go off this particular exit ramp and you sit on the road, it looks like the road is going up. If you stop, you put your car in neutral, your car will roll up the hill. Mm-hmm. And the legend was that somebody got stuck up there and they're pulling you up and calling for help. And let me tell you, I went and did it, and it worked. I can't tell you what made the car move up the hill. It sure looked like we were moving up a hill. I'm guessing it was an optical illusion, that it was actually not uphill that we were facing. But okay, for what it's worth, we satisfied my curiosity, and okay, whatever the legend was, it seemed to work, and okay, I move on with my life. I don't know that you've heard stories like that occurring in Rockland County or things like that elsewhere that just pull you in, literally, in some cases, and say, you know what, I've got to check this out.
You know, I really haven't. I mean, Rockland is really flush with a lot of stories because of our background and our history. I honestly don't really go chasing a lot of those. I probably would have done more of that years ago, but we've actually, since we've started to do this particular service, I'm really way too busy to really go looking for things like that. I think if something was presented to me, if one of my members were to say, hey, can we go check this out, I would go do it. I mean, that's the curiosity in me, because I'm always looking also. The particular thing you're talking about, I believe that it was disproved that it was like an optical illusion of the way the signs and everything were.
You know what I'm talking? You know the area I'm talking about?
Actually
do you know where it is?
I don't really know.
I think it was like
it is,
Teaneck area or something.
Yeah.
It was in northern Bergen County somewhere,
and
I don't remember where it was.
I believe somebody did a whole thing on it, and they did measurements, and they were able to prove that actually you are actually facing downhill, but it's the way that the hills are shaped and everything. Listen, I respect people's rights to believe in anything. So
it made for a fun evening. I got to, if nothing else, it made for an interesting evening, because my friend is telling me, the legend has it that so and so died here, and that they're pulling for help, and the car is stuck, and you're uphill, and it looked like we were moving uphill. But I would describe that to being an optical illusion. But it's fun to believe that maybe something beyond that was doing it, and for whatever it's worth, whether it's true or not. We were talking before a little bit about having that healthy sense of humor about these things, and it was amusing when you told me what your ringtone was.
Yes.
Right, and which is what we started off the show with, or your segment with the Ghostbusters theme. Do people, when you get the crank calls and they call you up, do people, or when you're in your everyday life, are people calling you, Dr. Peter Venkman or something like that, and are they expecting you to start sliming with these giant guns and things like that?
Well, they haven't called.
Those aren't the tools you have, right? Those aren't the tools you have. Though,
I don't know if they actually call me, but no, we don't have those kind of tools. We use largely scientific tools. We don't use dowsing rods. We don't use Ouija boards. We don't use crystals. It's not that I don't believe in them. I don't understand them. I stick with what I know. I'm more scientific by nature, so I stick with something that's more hardcore. I see a reading on a piece of equipment that I can measure electrical current. I feel much safer if that's going up in an area where there is no electrical current. I feel a whole lot better knowing that's happening as opposed to using dowsing rods or a crystal. But there are people that believe in that, and I don't disprove that. And it's not that I don't believe in it. We choose not to do that. We want to stay scientific.
30 seconds left in the show. If you can, tell me, what are some of the top 3 things that if people think that they've got something going on in their house, what are the common things that they can look for that are most curious that maybe you can come in and help them solve?
Well, the first thing is that they should always say calm. Okay, that's the most
and
important
we got about
thing.
15 seconds left.
No fear. And then I would just say that, try to just understand and take as many notes of what it is, and then give us a call.
Very good. Thank you very much, Barbara Oll. She's the director and founder of the Paranormal... sorry, I lost the name of your company. Tell me your
Paranormal
website.
Investigations of Rockland County.
And PIRC-ny.com. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. This is WRCR Spring Valley. Get out and vote. It's coming up in early November. And have a great weekend, everybody.